Chapter 6 of A Phantom Lover by Vernon Lee. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The next day Oakhurst was full of people, and Mrs. Oke, to my amazement, was doing the honours of it as if a household of commonplace, noisy young creatures, bent upon flirting and tennis, were her usual idea of felicity. The afternoon of the third day they had come for an electioneering ball, and stayed 3 nights. The weather changed; it turned suddenly very cold, and began to pour. Every one was sent indoors, and there was a general gloom suddenly over the company. Mrs. Oke seemed to have got sick of her guests, and was listlessly lying back on a couch, paying not the slightest attention to the chattering and piano strumming in the room, when one of the guests suddenly proposed that they should play charades. He was a distant cousin of the Okes, a sort of fashionable artistic bohemian, swelled out to intolerable conceit by the amateur actor vogue of a season. It would be lovely in this marvellous old place, he cried, just to dress up and parade about, and feel as if we belonged to the past. I have heard you have a marvellous collection of old costumes, more or less, ever since the days of Noah, somewhere, Cousin Willie. The whole party exclaimed in joy at this proposal. William Oke looked puzzled for a moment, and glanced at his wife, who continued to lie listless on her sofa. "There is a press full of clothes belonging to the family," he answered dubiously, apparently overwhelmed by the desire to please his guests. But I don't know whether it's quite respectful to dress up in the clothes of dead people." "Oh, fiddlestick!" cried the cousin. "What do the dead people know about it? Besides," he added with mock seriousness, "I assure you we shall behave in the most reverent way, and feel quite solemn about it all, if only you will give us the key, old man." Again Mr. Oke looked towards his wife, and again met only her vague, absent glance. "Very well," he said, and led his guests upstairs. An hour later the house was filled with the strangest crew and the strangest noises. I had entered to a certain extent into William Oke's feeling of unwillingness to let his ancestors' clothes and personality be taken in vain. But when the masquerade was complete, I must say that the effect was quite magnificent. A dozen youngish men and women, those who were staying in the house and some neighbors who had come for lawn tennis and dinner, were rigged out, under the direction of the theatrical cousin, in the contents of that oaken press, and I have never seen a more beautiful sight than the panelled corridors, the carved and escutcheoned staircase, the dim drawing rooms with their faded tapestries, the great hall with its vaulted and ribbed ceiling, dotted about with groups or single figures that seemed to have come straight from the past. Even William Oke, who, besides myself and a few elderly people, was the only man not masqueraded, seemed delighted and fired by the sight. A certain schoolboy character suddenly came out in him, and finding that there was no costume left for him, he rushed upstairs and presently returned in the uniform he had worn before his marriage. I thought I had really never seen so magnificent a spectacle.